Welcome to EYE on MDGs. I'm Onyi Sunday. On this episode, we take a look at efforts being made to achieve universal primary education in Nigeria's oil-rich state of Delta, as well as the state of Osun in Nigeria's southwestern region. Three million copies of branded exercise books are about to be launched here in the nation's capital, Abuja, by Nigeria's MDGs office.
Congratulations.
Representatives of various state universal basic education boards and students are in attendance to receive copies. The MDG's office is a support service, and efforts such as this one may not be felt across Nigeria. But its impact on the many that will benefit from gestures like this is reflective at the launch.
They just lessen the burden of my parents because we are doing 14 subjects in our school. For my parents to be buying 14 exercise books for every term. The money my parents are supposed to use to buy books, they're going to use it and do so many other things.
My mother have not bought any book for me, but the book that they gave me now, I enjoy it and like it.
Habib Omotosho is a primary 5 student in Abuja. He aspires to be a pilot someday. Various state governments across Nigeria are implementing policies to ensure pupils like Habib go beyond visualizing their dreams. The first step is to complete a full course of primary schooling, and this is something that the MDG office is working towards, using Nigeria's debt relief gains.
From 2006 to date, we've given over 113 billion naira of the debt relief to Federal Ministry of Education. It has been appropriated on the girls' child education, the national program on Almajiri, the support to National Teachers Institute, the support to UBEG.
The mission to attain universal basic education, however, began in 1999 with the launch of the Universal Basic Education Program by Nigeria's federal government. The goal was to eradicate illiteracy, ignorance and poverty and accelerate national development. The UBE program is also Nigeria's strategy for the achievement of education for all and the education-related Millennium Development Goals. Its progress was hampered, however, by the lack of an enabling law to execute certain aspects of the program. In 2004, things took a turn for the better with the signing of the UBE bill into law.
That act stipulates not just primary education, that every child in this country should have compulsory qualitative education of 9 years. That means 6 years primary education plus 3 years junior secondary school education. That's the minimum that the Act provides for every single child in this country.
Along with 2% of the federal government's consolidated revenue fund for the provision of basic education, the mission to achieve universal basic education has been strengthened further across Nigeria.
Since 2006, when Nigeria was able to get debt relief, $1 billion have been available to the country to fund MDGs projects and programs. Until date, funds that have been deployed from that debt relief gain to Federal Ministry of Education, and specifically, it's about appropriated is about 113 billion naira. That's well over $600 million. That's a whooping sum, and so much is being achieved with these funds.
The National Bureau of Statistics report of 2013 revealed that in 2012, primary school enrollment stood at just over 70%. That is an improvement on the 2008 figure of 61%. In Delta State, Nigeria's South-South region, the strategy employed to achieve universal primary education is all-encompassing, comprising collaborations from various state ministries and federal government agencies. Tuition is free for primary and secondary school students in the hope of increasing the enrollment of students in primary and secondary schools.
The free education in Delta State at the primary and secondary level was pronounced for not children of Delta State origin, but for children living in Delta State. That's the compulsory education for children living in Delta State. So if you're a policeman transferred to Delta State and you dare come with your children, we cannot see those children in the barracks during school hours. We will arrest them. If you're a cow Fulani and you come to Delta State with the hope of creating an Amajiri culture in Delta State, sorry, those children will be picked up. And then when the parents come for them, we release the children to school. And of course, we put the parents behind bars and prosecute them and get them jailed for daring to let their children out of school in Delta State during school hours.
The free basic education policy created an influx of students into schools, placing a strain on existing infrastructure. This prompted the state to embark on the massive construction and renovation of primary and secondary schools across the state. The state government, however, is not the only entity pushing infrastructure upgrades. The state's Universal Basic Education Board has also intervened to ensure schools in the state's rural areas are also upgraded.
In all the local government areas, we have similar bodies called local education authorities. They take charge of education, monitoring of schools in those local government areas. In Delta, we have 25 of them, headed by seasoned educationists. And they are directly under SUBEB. So whatever we have here, we have similar structures in our LGAs taking charge of primary education.
Infrastructure remains a major driver in the achievement of universal basic education in Delta State. In collaboration with the Office of the President on MDGs, Delta State MDGs has constructed classroom blocks across primary and secondary schools, backed with facilities to create a conducive learning environment.
We have been providing conveniences like water boreholes, O-ring wells in some cases, gender-friendly squat toilets. You'll be amazed at how this actually impacts on the children, especially the girl child, who may be hesitant about going to a school where there is no accessible or functional toilet facility. So these facilities are really important in schools. I mean, you shudder to think what the children were doing before these toilets were built in the schools.
Infrastructure spend, however, has not been enough to ensure attendance and curb the rate of dropouts from school. As the Delta State government, in collaboration with Nigeria's MDGs office, takes the financial burden of education off parents, it's been observed that most parents now place little value on education, leaving the bulk of the work to the teachers and the state government. In 2013, Delta State launched the so-called Edu-Marshal Corps to enforce compulsory education in the state.
Regardless of the fact that we have free education, they still cannot go to school because somebody needs to fend for their family, for the rest of the family. So, and that's how Edu-Marshal came about, which is enforcing or making sure every child of school age goes to school, you know, during school hours. And after school, this child, if they want to go and hawk, if they want to go to the market, whatever else they want to do, they can do that. So Edu-Marshal has done quite a lot to make sure kids are in school.
The state has recorded an 82% increase in enrollment from 46% recorded before the launch of the Edu-Marshal Corps. Plans are currently underway to have mobile courts to try parents who are still unwilling to send their children to school.
If you, as a guardian, you have this child of school age living with you, we're not saying he or she shouldn't help you, but they should be in school. Now, and if you refuse to follow the law, I'll give you an example somewhere in the state here, where I had to travel and then we got the shop sealed because the man refused to send the child to school, that he didn't bring the child bring the child to stay with him to go to school, that he brought the child to sell. We gave him the first warning, he didn't listen, and then we had to seal his shop.
Using the Conditional Cash Transfer program, poor families who rely on their children as breadwinners are encouraged to break the cycle by offering them financial aid on the condition that their children are sent to school.
In Delta State, in the last few weeks, we have actually implemented the conditional cash transfer, another component of the CGS, designed to provide conditional grant cash transfer to extremely poor households. These laudable programs and projects can be implemented, they're identified, through the analysis, gap analysis, they're identified and they're implemented.
The MDGs office, in collaboration with the state's UBE board, also provides manpower to the education sector in the state, particularly in the rural areas.
If you go around Delta State, you see a lot of our primary schools are being renovated. When I came on board in 2009, I saw that most of the schools are old and they need to be renovated and rehabilitated. His Excellency immediately assessed all our intervention funds from UBEC. We receive intervention funds. He assessed up to 2012. With that, we were able to renovate and rehabilitate our schools and provide them with furniture. As we renovate, we provide with furniture. So the children have seats to sit on. Then in 2010, I felt our schools need more than just renovation, and that we need to make the schools a little bit more comfortable. And so His Excellency agreed through our advice to have what we call the whole school concept. What is the whole school concept? We renovate the whole school, go to a school, renovate all the blocks, knock down the very old ones, put up the new ones. Then we provide them with library, a sick bay, ICT room, and of course, a playground. And of course, we have some security there. We provide them with fence and a security house with security men taking charge of the school after school hours.
About 40,000 teachers and 5,000 science teachers are recruited and upskilled every 2 years by the Federal Teachers Scheme and posted to the states where necessary. Over 700,000 teachers have been trained over the past 8 years. The MDG's office pays these teachers until they are absorbed by the state.
With the Federal Ministry of Education, our collaboration is that we give funding for teachers to be trained. One, primary school teachers are trained and retrained. We fund that. We also give funding for the Federal Teachers Scheme, wherein graduates from colleges of education with the National Certificate in Education, the NCE holders, are retrained, like for a period of 2 years, pay them, and then absorb them into the system.
Another area sorely lacking in resources has been information technology in schools. To ensure quality education is enjoyed and achieved by all, the state's Universal Board has introduced mini-computers to primary schools in the rural areas to place the students on a par with their counterparts in the urban areas. While this is meant to improve learning, it raises questions over the computer literacy of the teachers in these communities.
These days, everything is computer. I discovered that many of my teachers are not computer literate. How can they teach children computer science if they are not computer compliant? A lot of them, I've made sure now I told them they should go back to schools to go and learn, get used to the computer.
To encourage the teaching profession, Delta State government has also reviewed the employment structure of state teachers in a bid to encourage more graduates to embrace the profession and sustain the supply of quality education. To further empower the state through education, classroom furniture has improved. Seating arrangements have changed from this to this across the state. After the break, we will be visiting another state where the MDGs office and state government have gone a step further in removing the burden of providing education from families, all in a bid to ensure universal primary education is achieved by 2015. Do stay with us. Nigeria has been identified as one of the countries that may require an extension of its MDGs deadline in the achievement of universal primary education. And this may be as a result of varying school enrollment ratios between Nigeria's northern region and other parts of the country. In 2012, the attendance in Nigeria's northeast stood at 42%, while the northwest zone recorded 47.8%. In Nigeria's southwest region, the state of Osun believes it has achieved the Millennium Development Goal 2, which is to ensure universal primary education. According to Nigeria's Bureau of Statistics, the state of Osun ranks highest in primary school enrollment in the country, with its primary school enrollment between 70 and 80%. The state's deputy governor, who doubles as the Commissioner for Education, attributes this success to the policies and projects undertaken by the state government.
We have made access easy for all the children in the state. We have put all the basic infrastructure in place, and the 5 tenets and components of the universal basic education have been achieved. For instance, we have ensured that our teachers are well trained. We train our teachers during the long vacation. We ensure that all of them, we have in-service training for them. So there's a continuous training and retraining of teachers to ensure that the teachers have the basic skills to teach effectively in our schools. We do this during the long vacation because that's the only time we can effectively capture most of them.
In collaboration with the MDG's office and the State Universal Basic Education Board, the state has built and renovated primary and secondary schools across the state.
The philosophy was straightforward, and they were totally tied to both the age and the functionality of the schools, the aesthetics of the schools, of course, which is about the totality of education. It's not just about teaching, it's not just about learning how to read, it's about the total development of the mind and body.
To allow for easy access, the state has also embarked on building of primary schools, also known as neighborhood schools. As the name suggests, these are primary schools located within a community with the sole aim of eliminating commuting time. The MDGs is spearheading the building of most of these neighborhood schools, and there are plans to replicate these structures across the state.
MDGs currently has built from scratch 3 schools that are completed. These are the schools that have a student or pupils population of about 900 in Odoti, in Ede, as well as Osun. We are going into building another 6 set of schools across 6 local governments.
We've made the assessment easy for children. For instance, in the elementary school, those lovely schools you saw are neighborhood school. That is, children in the neighborhood of the environment of the school are enrolled in such school. And for us, we are quite happy about the pace of the increase in enrollment. Before we came in, the enrollment in our elementary school in Osun was 303,000. But as of 2013, that is last year, the enrollment had shot up to 382,459. So with that, that is over 25%. So we are quite happy about the increase in enrollment.
The state and the MDGs employ data from an annual needs assessment report gathered by the state's Universal Basic Board in order to determine communities where schools will be built. There are currently just under 1,380 primary schools in Osun State with a total enrollment of over 400,000 students. With the building of schools comes the challenge of finding qualified teachers. As part of the ongoing revolution in the state's education sector, teachers are also being retrained in line with the state's vision for education.
In terms of support for the state government activities, we've been able to contribute tremendously towards achieving this. One, schools were in the old schools. We are putting in infrastructure, we're putting in water access, and we are supporting the teachers in terms of training and reskilling as well. In recent times, didactic materials were supplied across the states by MDGs.
In line with the UNESCO policy, the classrooms are built to accommodate no more than 42 students per class. To ensure universal primary education is achieved in line with Nigeria's policy on education, the state has also restructured its educational system to suit the 934 structure of the federal government, which merges primary and junior secondary education. The key aim of the change is to eliminate the primary school leaving certificate after 6 years in favor of the education certificate examination written at the 9th year of basic education.
For us in the state of Osun, within the past 3 years, we've been able to achieve a lot in terms of the Ds and the goals of MDG. You know, the goal number 2 of MDG is to assure universal primary education before year 2015. I'm happy to let you know that even by year 2014, in the state of Osun, we can boast that we've been able to achieve all the objectives of the universal primary education.
Poised to achieve the MDG target on education, the state has introduced the so-called O-Meals program, where primary school pupils are fed once every day while at school. According to the World Food Programme, an international organization poised to fight hunger worldwide, a daily school meal provides a strong incentive to send children to school and allows them focus on their studies and not their stomach.
It is only this state that has ensured that our children, our pupils, are fed once a day. And because they are fed, you know, this is actually endear the kids to school. And the quality and quantity of the food they are fed with ensure that they are healthy and they're highly focused. And they enjoy the food. We feed them with a well-balanced diet that is rich in protein, in vegetable, and we ensure they take fruits every day, fruit of the season. And we even give them water, clean water.
Countries around the world are being encouraged to introduce school feeding programs as part of efforts towards achieving the MDG goals on hunger, education and gender parity. The school feeding program also serves as a safety net for households suffering food crisis. It's the last day of school at AUD Elementary School in the state of Osun, and attendance is at 100%. The teachers say this has been the trend following the introduction of the school meal program. The all-meal program has also helped to boost local agriculture. All foods served in the school are grown locally. This has encouraged farming across the state and created job opportunities.
Through the all-meal program, we also provide free deworming for the children twice a year because we feed them. We feed them well. We know we should also ensure that we cater for their health. So every 6 months, we deworm them. And this has impacted positively on the children. and it has also reduced our hospital bills because they don't visit the hospital as frequently as they used to before the introduction of the midday meal.
Toons Farm is one of such businesses. This mechanized poultry farm supplies chickens to schools.
With the introduction of the whole meal, we've been able to increase our own capacity. It gave us the challenge to also increase our present capacity. We have the equipment on ground, but it was not fully utilized. So with the introduction of whole meal, we're able to do our planning to ensure we can make use more of our capacity on ground. Also, it also enabled us to increase our staff strength. And based on all this, it has been having a multiplying effect in our business generally.
With the free tuition policy, free meals, uniforms and new school structures, the state believes it's on track to achieve the MDG Universal Primary Education goal before the end of 2014. The MDG's office, however, says the plan is to ensure a 100% enrollment before 2015. This it hopes to achieve with the introduction of the Conditional Cash Transfer program.
We thought about having to put the conditional cash transfer in place to further support, although we have a large number of students going to school right now, both boys and girls, and we don't have such problem, but we do believe the conditional cash transfer with the state government starting this month is going to further increase it till we achieve, because the target is to be zero tolerance on issue of not allowing the kids to go to school.
This program is to be monitored closely to ensure compliance, which will serve as an incentive for accessing the funds. The conditional cash transfer is a major strategy employed by Nigeria's MDGs to close a significant gap between the attendance ratio of the haves and have-nots. While most states have achieved commendable strides in achieving universal primary education, the MDG's office admits there is room for improvement in most parts of the country if the 2015 target is to be achieved. Or do send us your comments and suggestions on the address on your screen or contact us on www.cnbcafrica.com. I'm Onyi Sunday. Thanks for watching.